So I'm not the biggest Sonic fan there is, but I played Sonic Frontiers recently. I actually do like it. Sonic Frontiers is Sega's most recent video game release that was shown in the 22 Game Awards.
What is this shit? Huh?
I played the game only once and I didn't fully complete it, so I know exactly what I'm talking about. Clearly. So I'm going to discuss the pros and cons of this game based on my own opinion. So I'm going to split my review on this game on pros and cons separately, and then my final word of this game as a whole at the end of the video. When I first started the game, I did like how it was an open world game spanning across 5 islands, and each had their own challenges, bosses, and stories to them. There was no time limit how you could play between these stages, so you could just explore the islands and ancient buildings as long as you want. But, you know, you still gotta deal with...
Oh shit!
What is that? What the fuck is that?
Okay, you get the point. The mini bosses and main bosses were very fun to fight within the game. The mini bosses had a lot of creativity in them, and the main bosses, despite being only 5 compared to around 20 variants, were fun to fight. The designs for the bosses were consistent with each other, which makes sense lore wise, but I did like the black and white and red color palettes these guys have. And speaking of bosses, the main bosses each have their own sick music tracks. Tomoya Ohanti, Kellen Quinn, and the rest of the music composers did an awesome job in the music tracks. They did step up their game on character development of characters that kicked the dirt on the other kind of growth in previous releases. That's why it was satisfying to see Tails himself grow as a character and doing his own character arc thing after the story segment. The story of the game was confusing to get a grasp about, and at first it felt like it was 2 plot lines forced into one. It felt more like a retcon of the Chaos Emeralds and the whole premise of the islands and Titans, than more of an explanation of why they're there in the first place. And who the fuck is Sage? Story progression did feel kind of grindy, requiring lots of one item for dialogue. Big resource areas were far apart for a consistent collection of tokens and rings and seeds, with the exception of side looping and smaller parkour areas, but those were still grindy and time consuming, and felt like long jogs in between. The map was confusing at first because you had to continuously build it yourself to see more of the map, which does cover story related stuff in resource areas, so you didn't know where they were in the first place. The cyberspace stages require max skills to beat all 4 challenges each time to get keys for the emeralds themselves, which is needed for story progression. There's one upside, is that you don't need to do all the challenges in one go, so you can go back to for the time challenge, or the ring challenge individually, or the red ring challenge as well. The actual final boss you get to fight has to be on the hardest difficulty to actually make it interesting, but it still ends with the 3-button press cutscene. I didn't get this ending myself because I only played on easy mode on my first playthrough, so I was upset about it without knowing. So what's my final opinion on Sonic Frontiers? The game isn't that bad. I'll give it a 7 out of 10.